Welcome. Happy New Year to all.
Nice to see you come in.
I have a number of things to report. 2014 DOT project is complete with the exception of the tree plantings. As soon as the weather breaks, they can dig the trees, they'll plant them. It's only a 1 or 2 day thing, and that job will be completed. 2015 DOT projects have been sent to the state. They were sent there about 2 weeks ago. As soon as they get back to us on their approvals, we will bid that. We will be rebidding the sidewalk program within the next week or so. And we had a meeting today with the water company. They're going to be replacing the water main on Willow Avenue from Center Street all the way to basically Cranford Line. They're replacing the 2- and 6-inch lines and replacing with an 8 all the way. We have a slight moratorium issue with the last block. That's the block between what we've done already between New and the Knights of Columbus yard, which is about 150 feet. That's only 4 years old instead of 5. They have agreed to mill and pave half the road when they get finished doing the work. So that'll completely repair that damage. I think that would be appropriate. And particularly in that block, it's only a 2-inch line, so you're going from an 8 to a 2 to an 8. So I think it's grossly needed. And we're going to be, if you recall, we're going to be doing that, the rest of that block up to the end of the Knights of Columbus in this year's DOT project.
I had some inquiries on that from the Knights of Columbus organization.
So that's all I have.
Any questions for Mr. Guerriero? Hearing none, Mr. Renaud?
Thank you, Mayor. We have the fire department fee ordinance, which is on for introduction tonight. I don't think I have anything else to report on for you this evening.
Any questions for Mr. Renaud this evening? Sarah, you have nothing for this evening? Thank you. Any unfinished business? Any new business? I have a couple of small things. The next Mayor's Saturday will be held Saturday, February 20th at 11 a.m. In council chambers, I've invited Councilman Matthew to join me to meet with the residents who stop by. We encourage all to come in to chat or express concern about the borough. I've attended the Union County Master Plan Steering Committee meeting. They encourage all residents of the county to complete their survey at the Union County website, Transportation Master Plan. Their draft statement, as presented at the meeting, Union County has a safe, viable, multimodal transportation system that enhances economic activity and quality of life for all its communities. And they have 3 particular themes that they address. One is move, to provide more transportation choices, improve accessibility, safety through assistance to while conducting traffic congestion. Contact, engage, coordinate, and partners with municipalities and regional, state, and federal stakeholders in their growth to provide improvements and expansion to our transportation system to serve a growing population, to support our towns and employment centers, and to attract and retain regional business enterprises. There will be another steering committee meeting and an outreach committee meeting in the next few months. The final plan will be accepted by June 2016. And finally, at the request of Councilwoman Kukrow and many members of the Garwood Senior Club, I'm renaming the Committee on Aging to be the Garwood Senior Committee. That's all I have for this evening. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on. Comments and matters for discussion from members of council. Councilwoman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a few quick things.
Okay.
I wanted to first apologize to the Garwood Fire Department for getting a brain freeze last council meeting. After all the much-deserved accolades, I forgot one sentence of my report, which was thank them for their overnight shift they all did from 6 a.m. Saturday morning through Sunday morning to be on high alert during our most recent blizzard, so I apologize profusely for that. Also, I got an email Sunday, February 28th, from 4:30 until 8, the Summit Animal Rescue will hold its annual spaghetti dinner fundraiser. The event will take place at the Columbian Club, 37 South Avenue in Garwood. Parking is behind the Columbian Club on Willow. The cost per ticket is $10. Seating is limited. Last year, people were unfortunately turned away at the door as the Columbian Club was at full capacity. Therefore, advance ticket notice, if you'd be so kind, they would love that. You can contact Julia Melton. Her phone number's on here, and I can supply it to council, and maybe find out where else I can put these so everybody knows about it. Also, I am still very much interested in speed bumps in Garwood, starting on the 4th Avenue block by the Westville border and in front of the school. I think this would be a perfect spot to start this program, as the public welfare and safety of Garwood residents should be our #1 priority. I do not feel that there should be any deterrent from getting this done. Thanks, Mayor, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Any comments on the report, Councilwoman? Hearing none, Councilman Martin.
I have nothing.
Thank you. Councilman Matthew?
Yeah, just one other thing. I just wanted to support Councilwoman Cooper on that speed bump suggestion. Would we be able to go ahead and maybe get that over to Streets and Roads to take a look at?
Don't you believe it should go to police first?
It's been in police.
I believe it. But I think it should go to police. Sardo?
Yeah.
Councilman?
I'll
Please?
set up, absolutely.
Okay, so that's where they're working on, so we're waiting to get something from them on that?
It's just started. Councilman?
Chief, I don't know if you want to, have any say in this right now, because we did have a few years ago, we did have a conversation about speed humps, and
Last year.
if you want to give your opinion on them.
Well, we're still waiting on grants that we applied for. We got dropped off the bottom of the list. We're at the top of the list this year. And it's an expensive endeavor for what we proposed, which was solar-powered signs to slow down traffic there as a deterrent.
Okay, but not the
I
speed
wasn't a
humps.
big proponent. I wasn't pushing speed bumps. I think they take a lot of maintenance. They also involve a little bit of liability. They're going to deflect traffic onto the side streets, and I'm not a big proponent of it. I was for going with different measures, and if I can get a grant for it, all the better.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll investigate.
Yes, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem.
Councilman Sarno?
I have nothing there.
Thank you. Councilwoman Tedesco?
Thank you, Mayor. Just 2 items. I just wanted to state on the record that we've been in receipt of a letter from resident Bruce Patterson about the RVSA and their attendance at our last meeting, and I brought some of that to the mayor's attention about having the RVSA provide some sort of explanation in writing that we can then put on the borough website to better educate the public as to why our sewer fee is increasing within the budget, whereas our flow to them is not any greater. So if we could get that in writing, and the mayor does support that endeavor, which, Mayor, I appreciate that, I think that would be great for the benefit of the public.
And
And
reach out to our representative, Mr. Green, he's going to pursue that for us.
great, thank you again. And then the second item I had was about the county infrastructure grant, which could have been brought up, I guess, earlier with Don, but if we could speak about that, I believe the deadline is February 26th or in around there at the end of this month, so I think we should have a discussion as to our intentions for applying for that grant, if we so choose to do so. It is a matching grant. Last year, we received $30,000 from the county. It's still a $1.5 million overall grant, and I would certainly like us to advocate for Garwood and see how much money we can get.
Just a note on that, the primary source, they're saying we do roads, but I think we might want to think out of the box this time and talk about records management. Because that's been on our plate for at least as long as I've been the mayor, for at least a year and a half, so.
I know that, I concur, I know they put in the application that there was a preference going to be given to road work, and that's what they deemed it as road work, but Don, maybe you can just clarify this. I know in the past we've discussed new curbing on South Avenue. In front of many of the businesses, there is little to no curb left from the plow trucks year after year hitting into the curbs, and the county, although they paved South Avenue numerous times, does not replace the curb because they don't replace curb,
Right.
apparently, even if it's next to their road. So that is something that I've advocated for in the past, and I would like to continue to advocate for, but I still have personally I have an open mind towards including maybe records management as well, or also just regular road projects.
I think I gave you some numbers last year on the county curb replacement.
Right.
I'm not so sure that that's what they consider roads, though, only because they don't consider it a road when it comes time to pave. And the state's the same way, but we certainly, I could inquire with them and see if that would be included. I mean, $30,000 doesn't take very far when you start paving.
That's what we got last.
That's what we received last year, but I believe we applied for over 100,000. So, Ms. Ariema, do you have the exact number we applied for? I want to say 100 to 150,000 that we had applied for. Right. So, I mean, just throwing it out there, I would be in favor of maybe putting in for records management. I know Ms. Ariema has information about that. Putting in for the curbing and putting in for a street while we're at it, and then let the county decide what they want to do. I mean, we're always in need of
There's just one
road
issue
work.
that the grant application process requires the CFO to certify the matching funds, which means that we can't just wait and see and then have, she's going to certify that their funds are matching. That's the problem.
The way we would pay for it, though, would be through bond ordinance, right? I mean, that's obviously not going into a operating budget.
Well,
The influx of the taxes would be huge.
We already have like a road project bond ordinance.
Well,
We would-
most of our road work is almost replacement, because the roads are that old, but, I mean, we're to the point, we haven't paved Center Street, for example, in 35 years, and it's starting to show. So, I mean, we could just mill and pave that, which would not be a very expensive, or a very prolonged, or difficult thing to do. It's all materials, it's done in 2 or 3 days. I mean, they eat up some money real quick, but, you could start to do that, because that road is starting to show its wear, there's no doubt about it, and it's the main road in town, so.
And we must remember too, as Ms. Ariema and myself spoke earlier, that the grant is due by the end of the month.
Mhm.
It's not like we have months to talk about this. So
I think we have time, I
very
think we can put together something, just a matter of what we want to do. And as
Well, I think
Tina
if
said,
if
we
you're
have the
going
money.
to apply for this grant, you have to decide tonight what you're going to do, because I can't prepare, the next council meeting is 2 to 3 days before the grant is due.
Right.
You need more time.
I like Don's recommendation of Center Street. I was actually going to say that one because if you look at it, it's the main street in the town, and with the street fair now annual, with all those residents as well as visitors out that day, I think to have that in good shape would be advantageous for everyone. Especially if it's been 35 years, it's a really long time.
Is there any other opinions of the council, or?
No, I think that's a good idea to do Center Street, because it is being used quite a bit. It's been that long. I go with Don's recommendation.
We can still do other streets in the 2016 DOT, right, Don?
Pardon?
We could still do other streets
Oh, yeah,
outside of
we
Center
have
Street in the regular DOT
we already have
program.
an application for the grant. I didn't mean to shoot the record management, shoot a hole in that. I mean, certainly you can put it for both.
No, you can't.
Pardon? No?
It's not like that.
Like I said, you can't put it for both.
There's no other streets that are in worse shape that you would suggest that we maybe,
Well,
better idea to.
basically, it's gonna cost, most streets, when we start doing work on it, like $150,000, where with milling and paving, and that's all I'm thinking of doing on Center Street, because we've replaced the curbs in most of it. So, it doesn't require that kind of work. My one concern would be with DOT projects, they get make us do these crazy intersections with elaborate handicap ramps, and that eats up a lot of money in itself, so. But, you might get 2 or 3 blocks done if they're gonna continue to have these grants every year. It might take you 5 years, but you'll get the whole street paved sooner or later. That's the way to approach it.
Okay, so everybody agrees their grant application for Center Street paving? Yeah?
I would agree with that.
Mill and paving.
How long's that last, mill and paving?
35 years out of the last go-around.
That was the last go-around? I'm just checking.
Yeah, I think I paved that road back in the late 70s. In pieces too, but not all at once.
Theoretically, it lasts longer now, right? I mean, are they doing it better now than they did it back then, or?
Powder material's not as good as it was, actually. No, it's not, they have less, they're putting less oil in the asphalt, so it's not as good as it was, but, you know, it's what you got. I mean, that's all they make, so you gotta use it.
And when you say $150,000 for a street, can you just define that? You mean one?
Well, for example, if we were to do, the last couple of years, we've done Third Avenue. From one end to the other, we put in drainage, we did curb replacement. Aggregate, that's probably $150,000, maybe a little more.
You didn't pave it though, you didn't pave Third?
Not yet, it's on,
Okay.
it's being done in this year's project. We usually put the drainage in one year, let it sit a year, and then pave it. So it's up for, it's in this year's contract, it's out for, well, not out for bid yet, but the plans are in Newark, and as soon as they approve it, we'll go out for bid. But, I mean, overall, if you want to do that kind of a job on a road, that's what it costs.
With exceptions for places like, streets like Spruce, obviously, like they're just huge.
Oh, yeah, well, they're all, the trouble, one of our problems is they're all 800-foot blocks, 700 or 800-foot blocks. So they're not, it's not like doing a block of East Street, you know. Yeah, you can get away with East Street or West Maple, whatever, any of those streets for a lot less, obviously a lot less than that, maybe a third of that to do one block. But doing one block, it'd take you forever. So, you know, a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, we did Oak Street, but we did the whole thing from just about the brook all the way up.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Council President Petroselli?
Nothing there.
Okay, thank you. Hearing no others. Public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step forward to the microphone. State your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. It would be a council meeting without Mr. Patterson. Step forward.
Good evening, Mayor Lombardo, ladies and gentlemen of the council, Bruce Patterson, 225 Willow Avenue. I do appreciate you bringing up about records management. Yeah, that is definitely an issue that we need to address. Even the library has archives that need to be preserved. But I know Gene is like backspotting a lot of papers that really need to be archived also. So I don't know if it's going to come about through the infrastructure grant. Sounds like Center Street, there's always priorities.
Yes.
Center Street, I drive down that a lot. So I can't argue with that. Also, I guess my block, along with other blocks at Willow, is going to get a water pipe, or 2 water pipes put down. What? Did you say 2 inch and
No.
6 inch or something?
In the sections we're doing, there are a combination of 2-inch and 8-inch mains. But the 2-inch line's only a way down at the east end of town. Most of it is 6-inch, it will be replaced with an 8-inch.
All right, I don't recall when it was paved. Keith Sloop was actually on the council at that point, so many years ago. But the street actually is in still pretty good condition. After they install the line, what is it going to look like? What's the street going to look like? A trench, obviously is going to be.
Well, what they'll do is they'll put the main in, they'll put base material back probably for 3 or 4 months, then they'll come back and they'll mill out a strip and they'll pave it.
All right, so I'll have like a swath down the center of my block and the other blocks also.
That's correct, but they're also doing all the services. So everybody's service from the main into their valve box, well, not the house. But
The curb, yeah, the curb
The
box.
curb box, that'll all be replaced.
All right.
So it's gonna look like,
Hell. All right.
Yeah.
now, we're in discussion, I don't know how far it's gonna go, but we're discussing the milling half the road. Because one side of the road is gonna really get chopped up more than the other, because going to the near side where the main is, of course, will be chopped up a lot more than the other side, which will just cross over. But we're looking at seeing if we can get them to mill the whole thing, mill the road and pave it.
Water mains usually don't go down the center. They're
Now, the main will be about 8 feet off your curb. Right now, it's about 4 feet off your curb, 3 or 4 feet.
Are they going to abandon the existing one?
They will abandon the main when the new main is in. So what they'll do is they'll put the new main in, they'll fill it, they'll flush it, and test it until it's clean, and then they'll start to connect the houses. After they connect all the new homes to the new main, they'll fill the old main.
All right. It's just that once you penetrate the surface, you know, then.
Yeah, but you know, we have 70-year-old water mains, 70 to 90-year-old water mains. You know, you see in New
Older
York.
than you, Don.
A little bit, yeah. But you see in New York City, every once in a while, a main break, and I mean, you know, they break, they do just as much damage or more damage to repairing them than they do when they're gonna do this. I mean, it'll be a straight cut and all that. I mean, you know, we're lucky. Actually, in a way, we're lucky to replacing the infrastructure.
No, I can't argue that,
But
it's just when the roads are paved, like, you know, obviously you're taking care about down the far end of Willow, you know, about holding back on the paving.
Right.
You know, so I don't know when mine was paved, 7 years, but I
Yeah,
guess.
you're more than 5 years. I checked all the ages, and you're more than 5 years old. Not you.
We're all old, we're all old. All right, and just the last item, and I mentioned this earlier. The RVSA, I wrote a letter. Thank you very much for being proactive towards it and reaching out to the RVSA and asking them just what the heck, why is our price going up?
As I said, in simple terms, very short.
Simple terms, yes, that's the way I like it. There was another item on the letter that I noted, and it was some kind of, we do have a representative, Steve Green. I feel there's, you know, yes, he represents Garwood to the residents, but maybe the governing body should also have a point person that the representative could respond to. In other words, if Steve Green is going to be chasing down this letter of explanation from the RVSA, who's going to stay on top of him to make sure that we get a letter? The mayor.
The mayor will.
Are you designating yourself as a point
Absolutely.
person, or are you just
Absolutely.
saying you do?
No, I'm not saying, just not saying it. I will follow up.
All right, in addition, like, you know, in there, I did list a bunch of numbers, and I was amazed at a 40% increase over the last 5 years. And so I decided to do a chart, because, you know, that's what I actually mentioned in the letters, that we really should have charts also showing things. So, and I just wanted to do a handout here.
Is this now in summary of your report?
No, this is in furtherance of the letter.
I just want to make sure.
All right. So I guess, I don't know, split it in half. Thank you. As the right. I guess Don and Lillian will talk.
Let me have one of them, Bruce.
We
Let's
have,
go that way.
Here you go.
Okay.
Is there anyone else?
Yeah.
Wow, this is beautiful.
Call it, right?
Sure.
All right, this chart, and I guess I'll to the camera. Now, what we're looking at, I was saying, you know, we had the RVSA people here, and they are more or less just presented isolated data on Garwood, and then you kind of had to take their word for it as what was going on. So what we're looking at, what I did, it's called zeroing out the increases and decreases based on one town, which obviously is Garwood. And when you do that, you make Garwood the baseline, and then all the other towns' increases and decreases revolve around the baseline of Garwood. And just for an example, just to give you what I mean by zeroing out, if Garwood had an increase of, say, 5% one year, and Springfield had an increase of 10%, since you're zeroing out Garwood, then you have to knock off 5 down to 0. So Springfield would then be knocked off 5 also. So what you're looking at is Garwood with a 0% increase baseline. Springfield would have a 5% increase comparing it to Garwood. So this chart that I did here, we're looking at 5 years, and the first year, yes, a lot of towns are actually higher. That's why you see all the colored lines, and each colored line represents a town. Garwood is the red at the 0, straight line across Garwood at 0. And so the first year everything was actually higher than Garwood's increase, and some considerably higher. You see numbers like 26 to 34, you know, certain towns. But anyway, after that, all the towns, basically you could say all the other 10 member towns dropped below Garwood's increases. when you're comping Garwood to the other towns. And they continue to remain below Garwood's increases. And that's the colors that you see all below. One town at Cranford, oh no, Rawway popped up one year, but then it went right back down. So what we're looking here is that Garwood's increases almost every single year. The first year, no, but the other 4 years, Garwood's increases actually were worse than the other 10 towns. And something doesn't sound right. I mean, you know, there's flow issues. Some towns, maybe a lesser flow like Garwood had for the last 2 years. But still, it's really tough to explain why Garwood, for 4 years in a row, had worse increases than the other towns when you compare the other towns.
Well, hopefully this information that they give us will address that, but as I said in the past, being a former commissioner, there's 3 things that can go wrong. Your rolling average, as they indicated, other towns can go super low, somebody has to go high because it's a pie chart of 100%, or you have 4 meters to contend with. And that's...
What you say is, in every case, Garwood is getting short shrift. That's just it, looking at these numbers. There actually is another choice, that their calculations are failing. I mean, you know, not that I doubt the government.
Understandable. Is that your summation statement?
Yeah, we can wrap it up, but, you know, everybody, just look at the chart and notice that, you know, Garwood, almost every single year was higher than all the other towns. And there was a lot of build out of the other towns. Nothing really changed. Nothing changed, and yet Garwood still is getting hit with increases.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bruce.
Anyone else like to come to the microphone? Seeing none at this time, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Should we continue on?
Yes.
Okay. Please stand for a moment of silence, followed by the salute to the flag, please.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Out of the notice of this meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader, the Union County local source advertised on January 7, 2016. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, promptly posted on the Municipal Public Bulletin Board, and filed in the office of the Municipal Court, informing the public the time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. Everyone, please shut your cell phones or put on vibrate, please. Roll call, Ms. Ariema.
Mayor Lombardo.
Here.
Councilman Kukrow.
Here.
Councilman Martin.
Here.
Councilman Matthew.
Here.
Councilman Sarno.
Here.
Councilman Disco.
Here.
And Council President Petrozelli.
Here.
Ms. Ariema, minutes, please.
Regular workshop and executive session minutes of the mayor and council held on January 26, 2016.
May I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communications, Ms. Ariema.
New Jersey State League Municipalities Mayor's Advisory,
Receive and file.
Union County Board of Chosen Freeholders,
Receive,
ordinance,
receive and file.
Division of Local Government Services, State of
Receive,
Emergency,
receive and file.
Bruce Patterson, Roy Valley Presentation,
Receive and file.
Roy Valley Sewage Authority Minutes,
Receive and
and
file.
Garwood Board of Health Minutes.
Receive and file. Ms. Ariema, please read ordinance by title only.
Yes, Mayor, an ordinance to amend 83-7 non-life hazard use in Article 1 Fire Prevention Maintenance Code in Chapter 83 Fire Prevention of the Code of the Borough of Garwood to revise certain fees for inspections.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 16-01?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Roll call, please, Ms. Ariema.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Martin.
Aye.
Councilman Matthew.
Aye.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilman Disco.
Aye.
And Council President Petrozelli.
Aye.
Very good. Council standing committee reports and other reports. Police, Councilman Sarno.
Thank you, Mayor.
Good evening.
Evening.
The issue assigned to me last meeting in regards to First Aid in Garwood is still being researched at this time. As more information is gathered from our past and present members, EMS professionals in our neighboring communities, and discussed in committee, I will present it to you. Additionally, in regards to Resolution 16-158 on tonight's agenda, I would like to point out that the former officer worked these hours, chose to bank the time as opposed to take it in pay, and now by law, we must pay the officer for the time we still owe him. That's all for my report.
Thank you. Any comments on the report of the police commissioner? Hearing none, public health, Councilwoman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. The Board of Health introduced an ordinance on January 20th, 2016 that will set forth fees for the site plan review in accordance with applications received by either the planning board or construction department. Currently, the health inspector reviews the plans to ensure compliance with code. However, there is no fee set forth for these to be collected. The fees will be retained by the borough and offset the cost involved with the Board of Health services. This is not a fee for the general citizen, but rather for businesses either established or new, and pertains only to establishments that prepare, serve, or sell food. The fees range from $75 to $300, depending on the size and type of establishment. The ordinance will be adopted at the next meeting held on March 16th. That's all for my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments on the Board of Health report? Hearing none, Streets and Roads Ecology, Councilwoman Petroselli.
Thank you, Mayor. The Department of Public Works completed the following from January 27th to February 9th. Reoccurring activities was performing household waste pickup, fuel all vehicles and equipment down at the Union County Public Works Complex, and provide residential white good appliance pickups. Also, checked and treated reoccurring problems in sewer lines for routes on a weekly basis. Checked sewer complaint within the 500 block of Willow Avenue. The block was found to be in the residential lateral connection, not in the borough's main sewer line. Perform maintenance on miscellaneous public works vehicles and equipment as needed. Remove miscellaneous roadside debris along North and South Avenues. Miscellaneous activities, they perform de-icing on borough streets, parking lots, school crossing, and sidewalks during the small winter event on February 9th and February 5th. Perform plowing on February 5th during regular working hours to clear light accumulation of snow from borough streets and parking lots. Residential garbage pickup service was completed after plowing operations. Remove snow from miscellaneous storm drain inlets throughout the borough due to forecast heavy rains on February 3rd. Okay, snow removal operations. Public Works employees worked a total of 67.5 man-hours of overtime between January 27th and February 9th to perform snow removal within the curb line of the following areas. Within the business district along Center Street and between South and Willow Avenues, on all four corners of intersection of Center Street and South Avenue, the 300 block of 2nd Avenue due to plowed snow creating minimal through traffic with borough garbage trucks. Public Works employees worked a total of 165 man-hours of regular time between January 27th and February 9th to perform snow removal within the curb line of the following areas due to limited parking. The 200 block of Willow, 300 block of Willow, 400 block of Willow, and the 500 block of Willow Avenue. 3rd Street, or 3rd Avenue and 2nd Avenue, and Walnut Street in areas of the school, the 300 block of Myrtle Avenue. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments?
Yes.
Go
Who
ahead.
who approved the overtime to do the curb-to-curb plowing of these roads?
I approved the overtime as well as with the superintendent.
Okay. Shouldn't this go to the committee?
I don't think it, well,
In past practice, it was going to the chairman.
yeah, well, I mean, I guess in past practice, it's gone to the chairman, but, you know, when you're dealing with 27 inches of snow, I mean, do we have to have a committee meeting on everything that the department needs to get done?
I mean, the only reason I'm asking is I was never informed of this before, and I'm on that committee. And also, my gut feeling, when you look at the bylaws, is that this is a circumvention of the committee process. I always look to see to make sure that I understand what's happened before, why it's happening, and why we're not following that. So that's why I'm bringing it up now.
Well, there were times I did call you and I did let you know what was going on, whether it was through an email or an actual phone call.
Right, but I wasn't aware of that specific issue. That's
On overtime,
On the overtime issues, I was not informed.
Okay. All right.
And I just want to say that past practice may have been the last couple of years, but I remember when Councilman Hack was actually at Streets and Roads that he did used to call, he didn't call a meeting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we did call around and say, hey, listen, are you on board with this or not? So we would have. My whole philosophy is just the more people you get involved, the better. If I were in your position, though, I'd probably want to just cover myself and say, hey, I'll let the committee know.
Well, there was only one section that was brought to light by a resident who was questioning why the Second Avenue block was done over by the church. Well, that was done because in past practice, it's never been, round robin to go to see if anybody really wants to remove the snow by the church. You have church services on Sunday. Now we have the senior complex across the street, so that was done on Saturday. So.
Weren't they having issues with the garbage truck?
Yeah, well, that was,
in the report?
well, that was part of the report there too, where even on that block there, the garbage truck was having a hard time coming down. So, they needed to clear that out.
No, I understand it. I just like to be in the loop instead of finding it out from a resident.
Okay.
I also think there's one other thing. I had a comment too from a neighbor, actually to my chief of staff, not directly to me, that it was the first time in 30 years he said that the plows hadn't come back to do curb to curb. And I was waiting, I was wondering when the plows were going to come back too. I remember Len Spina was going around. I mean, when you parked, people parked on both sides of the street. It got pretty bad for the fire truck, so I just kept waiting for the plows to come back. And I noticed they've done kind of like part of curb to curb in some places where you haven't had cars parked, but can you just tell me what the thinking was on that? How come that wasn't followed up?
Well, it actually was brought up, and I know that there was areas within the borough that were brought up by the chief to the DPW. It was along the lines that a fire truck couldn't get down. So I actually called up Len Spina and asked him, are there any areas in town that you feel that a fire truck can't make it down? And he said, no, every street that he's been on has been okay. He said there were some blocks, I guess during Sunday when people had their cars out and people were plowing. But other than that, all those cars were going to be back on their driveways or whatever, but he didn't have any other issues in town. So I did reach out to him to see if there were any issues, and he didn't have any.
It just would have been nice to have that done. And I noticed now you see, at least on my block, they're kind of going around the parked cars, hitting the empty spots that they got. It's just not, it's like a lot less efficient. I did my own feeble attempt to try to clean it up, but as it gets harder and packed, it's a pain, you know what I mean?
Well, I think that's the issue too, where, if you have 27 inches of snow and you're trying to push it to get it to the curb, and you want to come back and do that when people have actually dug out from their driveways, and now you're going to come back and then push another 4 or 5 feet back onto their driveway. I don't think that that's a good thing to do either, just to try to get it back to the curb. In front of my house, I actually shovel out to the curb myself because I know that the plow cannot get that far. And I wouldn't want to have that extra 3 or 4 feet that's in front of my house pushed back onto my driveway. So I see kind of a catch where, they can come back down and then try to push everything back to the curb, but then you're putting everybody back out on the driveway as well as the sidewalk, just to shovel out again.
All right, well, just to pass along the comment of my neighbor, again, I haven't been here for 30 years, he has, but he just remarked to my wife that was the first time he'd seen it.
Mayor, if I could just make 2 comments on this
Yes.
report. One is that I just think the DPW should also be commended for the fact that they did not have any break in garbage service during this whole time. Blizzards and basically the blizzard. The fact that garbage was still picked up, whereas neighboring towns, I saw alerts to my phone, recycling was getting canceled and so forth. So I think the fact that that service continued through it is a real testament to the men down there. And also, too, I noticed for the first time in my memory, anyway, these signs getting put up for no parking, and residents would park there anyway. So that was pretty tricky, just to put it on the radar on the enforcement end. But I understand why the signs were put up at first, because those piles, even on 3rd Avenue where I live, which is a pretty wide street, the street got real narrow real fast. And at first, residents were abiding by that, but then over time, they were just parking there anyway, and made it difficult to get out of driveways and things like that. So, just something to think about in future blizzards. Thank you.
Any further comments?
I just think it was unusual because it seemed to me to be the first time that it was not done to the curb. So maybe that's why it stands out in everybody's mind.
I can assure you on Fourth Avenue, it looks no different than in the past storms, but just to say a few words, as you know, I do work for County Public Works, and 27 inches is 27 inches to be pushed back. And the more you keep pushing it back, that gives you less time to go to a different street to make it clear at all. So, as the councilman said, this is a case 22, and there's always room to
Yeah,
do a
well,
little different.
I mean, I can also remember back when we had a blizzard, it was about 32 inches of snow, and the streets looked exactly the same as they did after the 27. So it's not the first time that it's never been back to the curb. So we've had other larger snowfalls that we wound up with the same result.
Okay. Any further comments? If not, we'll move on to fire. Councilwoman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. I have an incident report here. There was 10 total incidents in Garwood, 328 alarms, total man-hours. Meetings, 19 men, 30 man-hours. Drills, 19 men, 57 hours. Extra duty, digging out fire hydrants, 132 hours on 63 hours and 21 extra hours. Mutual aid to Elizabeth, 25 hours. Odor of gas, fire mulch, 1 fire alarm, 2 alarms for activations for water flow. That was it as far as the fire activities. Also, there was a safety presentation at the Villages of Garwood. The Borough of Garwood would like to thank Michael Farrelton for his dedicated service to our town. Len Spina said he did meet with the Finance Committee to go over budget items as pertaining to the Garwood Fire Department. And the LoSAP benefits for Garwood are being put through as Resolution 16-156. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments on the fire report? Hearing none, we'll move on to finance. Councilwoman Tedesco.
Thank you, Mayor. The budget meetings of the Finance Committee are underway. We've begun by meeting with department heads to discuss their operating as well as capital budget requests. In keeping with last year's procedure of having 2 special budget meetings for the mayor and council, which are open to the public, we recommend Resolution 16-159 on tonight's consent agenda to hold those special budget meetings on Thursday, March 10th and Thursday, March 17th. Both meetings are to start at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments on the finance report? Hearing none, buildings and grounds, Councilman Matthews.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Laws and license, Councilman Martin.
Thank you, Mayor. The Laws and License Committee met last week on February 1st to discuss the issue of health care benefits for elected municipal officials. Our borough attorney researched the matter and gave council a memo in which he stated that continued coverage of a council member who was grandfathered in by state law in Chapter 2 PL 2010, as explained in a local finance notice, since that council member had served continuously since May 21st, 2010. After discussion in our committee meeting, the proposal to eliminate health care benefits for existing council members did not have the support to come out of committee, as the vote was 2-1 against. Councilwoman Tedesco and I did not agree with the proposal based on the fact that our attorney researched this and found that it would be unlawful for such an ordinance to be passed. His position on this issue was also supported by an earlier finding by former borough attorney Joseph Triarsi, which I have a copy of here, in correspondence dated December 7th, 2011. That is my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Hearing the report of laws and license, any comments?
Yes.
Councilman?
Wait, excuse me, do you have a laws and license report from Catherine?
No.
Joe, could you speak into the mic?
Thank you. Before I offer this dissenting opinion, I'd like to give the courtesy of asking Council President Petrozelli a question, since I don't feel that's ever been asked from the dais. Will you voluntarily give up your taxpayer-funded health and dental benefits?
No.
Okay. $168,813. That is how much the Borough of Garwood has paid towards Councilman Petrozelli's health and dental benefits since he was first sworn in 2009. The cost to the borough this year alone is $32,716, and there is no time greater than now to address this issue. It was last year our council president said in his words that this is the hardest thing to do in regards to firing our former DPW superintendent, Fred Corbett. Maybe that decision would not have been so hard if he had first foregone his health benefits last year prior to making that vote. I've said once before that all cost savings should start with us on the dais before anywhere else in the borough, and focusing on this issue of councilperson health benefits is a perfect example of such. It is true that on May 21st, 2010, Governor Christie and the state legislature signed a number of reforms concerning local governments that are enrolled in the state health benefit plan, and one part of these reforms forbids part-time employees and councilpersons from receiving health benefits. It is also true that if you were serving as councilperson prior to this date and continue to serve without losing an election, you could still collect these benefits. After that last statement, you may think our council president is entitled to these benefits. However, that is not the case. During the recession that followed the 2008 financial crisis, many municipalities throughout the state began losing revenue from foreclosed homes and started looking for places to cut expenditures. Municipalities began realizing how much they were paying part-time councilpersons in stipends and benefits and started to cut these benefits that were considered a given in the past, even with councilpersons who have been serving continuously prior to the 2010 reform bill. And don't forget, many councilpersons chose to give this up on their own, knowing how difficult it was for municipalities to balance a budget with lower revenues while staying under the 2% cap. How municipalities achieve this is by including specific language that forbid elected officials from receiving health benefits. I've looked into this issue across our state and found multiple towns that have addressed the issue of having part-time councilpersons receiving full-time medical and dental benefits. The following towns have acted on this issue in one way or another. That includes, but is not limited to, changing our ordinance, as I recommend we should do as a council starting tonight. Mahwah in Bergen County, North Arlington also in Bergen County, Fair Lawn also in the same county, Willingboro in South Jersey, Burlington County, Newton in Sussex County, Morristown and Dumont also in Bergen County. In addition to researching these towns, I've spoken to and or emailed to the mayor of Dumont, Jim Kelly, the mayor of Mahwah, William Laforet, and former councilman of North Arlington and now Democratic Bergen County freeholder Steve Tonelli, all of whom have made these changes to their local ordinances to stop the practice of giving health benefits to councilpersons. The opinion offered by our borough attorney does not go far enough in the research of how other municipalities throughout the state were able to do what I'm suggesting here in Garwood. Moreover, he does not state anywhere in his document that it would be unlawful to pass this ordinance. Instead, he offers this statement, quote, "Based on my research, I am unable to state that the borough may eliminate such benefits." On that note, I'd like to close by saying we are clearly able to make the proposed changes as stated in Chapter 30, Article 1, Paragraph E. The borough specifically reserves the right to repeal, modify, or amend these policies at any time. None of these provisions shall be deemed to create a vested contractual right of any employee, nor to limit the power of the mayor and council to repeal or modify these rules. The policies are not to be interpreted as promises of specific treatment.
Thank you. Any further comments?
Well, Mayor, as a member of the Laws and License Committee, I had mentioned that I had a thought for a compromise on this issue that I'd like to put forward to the council.
Yes.
And I would like to make a motion that our clerk or attorney draw this ordinance up if I receive a second and it's voted on. But in reading over the attorney's letter as well as reading the supplemental materials that were provided to us, the law here does state appointed or elected officials who are appointed or elected prior to May 21, 2010 do not need to meet the 35 hours per week minimum, provided they remain in their elected or appointed position continuously after May 21st, 2010. And in our attorney's opinion, he has also said that, let's see here, there's multiple lines here, but continued coverage is required. This was also stated by our previous borough attorney, Joe Triarci, back in 2011 on December 7th in correspondence with him. And it sets a very bad precedent to go against state law and to go against our attorney's research and statement on this issue. And it's not the first opinion we've received, it is the second. And so I would like to propose this compromise where an ordinance would move forward from any elected official after May 21, 2010, where if the state changes the law next year, or 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, whenever that may be, or if the borough were to switch healthcare providers and go off of the state health benefits plan and go with a private insurance company, that elected officials would not be able to collect health benefits. So I would like to make a motion for that ordinance to be drawn up.
Mr. Renard?
If I have a second, I think we can vote on that.
We have
Well-
a- If I may, sir,
Go ahead.
we have a potential motion, and we're going to ask for a second. Is that proper at this time of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So we heard the motion from the councilwoman. Do we have a second?
Second.
Can we have a discussion, Mayor?
Discussion?
Can we just, can I offer, may I just ask for a clarification?
I thought I was recognized.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, thanks. So, thanks. So first of all, I want to thank Councilman Sarno. This is the first time this issue's been surfaced on the dais. This is the big issue. How many times do we hear this all around Garwood? The councilman's health benefits. We've heard this over and over and over again. The thing, I've been silent on this issue from the dais. The thing where I've now felt compelled to join with Councilman Sarno was the firing of Fred Corbett and the circulation of a letter around Garwood detailing how much his benefits cost. That changed it for me and for, more importantly, more of my constituents. Now, Lou, you say that you won't give up your benefits. There's no wiggle room in that? I mean, you wouldn't give up your stipend. Now you won't give up your benefits. What about a compromise a la Bruce Patterson, where you do some type of greater copay? Would you consider that?
I don't really think that this is the venue for me to discuss that, okay? So at this point, I say no.
So you wouldn't go ahead and do that? All right, I mean, because, Bruce Patterson tried to contact you about this, and you went to the cops. So if people don't feel necessarily very comfortable approaching you on it, maybe you can understand why. This is a public expenditure. I just want to point out, Mr. Renard, you wrote in here you didn't know what the distinction was with Dumont, why they got rid of this. I do, actually. The councilman who was receiving the benefits voted to get rid of his own health benefits. So, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Renard, you're saying we have to offer them. Nothing says the councilman has to take health benefits. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So there are people who are going ahead and giving up these health benefits. I have to give Councilman Sarno credit again. Much of this took place in North Jersey, particularly in Bergen County. The thing the councilman credits it to is that the Bergen Record and other newspapers up there listed on the front page of newspapers many times how much health benefits were costing. This became a big issue up there. $168,000 cumulative amount, $32,000 in 1 year. This is really, and we tried to get rid of the benefit, the stipends before. This is the first motion of our new council people. And not only did you disagree with us, you didn't do this, Councilwoman Tedisco did. You questioned our motives, said it was grandstanding. So we keep telling people in Jersey you can't change anything, all right? The things we can change, we're refusing to change, all right? I would really like a compromise. Your compromise, Councilwoman Tedisco, with all due respect, I think dodges the issue. The compromise I would entertain is putting the stipends back on the table and doing a greater copay. Let me tell you what Garwood's employees do. Since the Chris Christie reforms, our health insurance costs at Garwood $1,141,000. Garwood's employees, these are the people that you see here every day, cops, people in our office, they pay $160,000 in copays out of their salary. They pay 14% of the healthcare premiums for the borough. I think for you to do at least a minimum of that. And then just one final thing, Mayor, I just wanted to put this in, because we talk about numbers here, and numbers a lot of times just kind of, let me give you an idea what $32,000 is. $32,000 is 2.5 times our municipal alliance budget. It is 1.5 times the maintenance for the athletic complex. It is double what we have budgeted for snow removal in Garwood. Double. Recreation, the entire recreation department has a $41,000 budget. Our senior citizens, our entire senior citizen program, and we cut the director's salary in half, is $17,600. the councilman's benefits cost twice what our entire senior program does. So just to give you, it's 14 times what Celebrations is. And it's more than we budget for telephones in a year. So just to give you an idea, $32,000 is a huge amount of money. And then one final thing, we get a ding every year on our best practices checklist. And they ask us this question: does your municipality limit health benefits to full-time, 35 or more hours weekly, excluding from coverage all part-time employees, elected or appointed officials? And we answer no, and we list the councilman's name, and we get a ding on our best practices checklist. So I find it hard that the state would be asking us to do something that's illegal. The other question I would have for the councilman is, if we remove your council benefits, would you sue the borough?
I really don't know what I would do, Jim.
Well, I think that's an answer.
Councilman
Thank you,
Lemon?
Mayor.
I'm sorry, which?
Sir?
Okay. First of all, Mr. Renaud, is the councilman entitled to receive these benefits?
Excuse me, I had a little bit of a cold tonight, so
That's okay.
it's not a good night for me to do a lot of talking, but under the state health benefits you've seen this, what the local finance notice says, so I really don't want to repeat myself.
No,
but,
I have.
The local finance notice, which is basically what I'm going by.
Sure.
The state health benefits program statute itself is, I can't tell you how unclear it is. So what attorneys go by, or at least what I go by, is how the state interprets it. That is how the departments, how the DLGS, how the state health benefits program runs the program. So according to the Department of Local Government Services, that is their explanation of what the statute meant, who's covered, who's entitled to what. So in answer to your question, according to the local finance notice, the councilman is entitled to health benefits.
Okay. Now, since by law, your interpretation is he's entitled to these health care benefits, would it then not be against the law to pass an ordinance to remove them?
Well, that wasn't how I phrased the opinion.
Well,
Well done, Mr. Renaud. Well, you know what I'm trying to do? I mean, in all candor, I am trying to be as fair and objective to everybody as I possibly can. I'm trying to give the council a fair assessment of what the available literature provides. The available literature provides that under the state health benefits program, the councilman is entitled to state health benefits as long as we're in the program.
okay. We are a nation of laws. What I'm coming back to is not what other towns do, what people think in the town or anything like that. That's all very important, but we're a nation of laws, and we should follow our laws. That should be what decides this. Okay? I took the liberty of calling our insurance agent, and our insurance agent says that if in fact we do anything that is deemed against the law, you're on your own. We lose our insurance coverage. So, as you said, Councilman, if Councilman Petroselli decided to sue based on the fact that we passed an ordinance to remove his benefits, we would lose our insurance coverage in that case. We'd be on our own. God knows what a lawsuit would bring.
Well, I just want to, as it comes to this, we're now having to react to being threatened by sitting councilmen with lawsuits. That's the first thing I want to talk about. The other thing that I wanted to
Who's
mention
threatening a
is...
lawsuit, Jim?
Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention, Mayor, if I may, is we're now past that. You're going into budget season. How do you ask department heads, forego raises, cut budgets, put capital projects on hold, when we are not willing to cut 1 red cent from the council. In a prior meeting, we said, no, we will not cut $10,800 from the budget and our stipends. We deserve to get paid more than the planning board and the Board of Ed and our volunteer fire department. And now here, the answer is no, we will not cut $32,000 of health benefits, not even part of it. How do you look them in the eye and say to them, cut your budget? How do you look a taxpayer in the eye and say, pay another $300 in taxes this year, when we're not willing to budge $1?
Thank you. We're legislatures. We can draft these ordinances. We voted on one tonight. This is what we do. This is what these other towns have done to control this. This is not unlawful in one way, shape, or form. We pass the law as such. We pass it for Garwood. That's the way that other towns have done it, and that's exactly what it is here.
And we invite the councilmen to join in. Do like the councilman did in Dumont, and go ahead and join in. Lou, please, give up your benefits for the good of the borough. Your benefits cost double what we budgeted for capital projects in the entire borough in 2015. Twice.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor for this resolution. Are we going to go forward with it?
I had a question.
What's it? Is that the councilwoman's?
There was a motion and a second, Mayor, but I think we were still in discussion.
Mr. Renard, a quick question. This is based on your interpretive law, correct? It's not based on case law.
No, there isn't any case law
All
on
right,
this
so
subject matter.
there's no case law at all. So
Correct.
this can set the precedent for case law going forward, am I correct?
No,
No?
no.
So it's all it is, the whole thing is just interpretive law based on your opinion?
No, it's not. It's my reading what is contained in the law and in what is in the local finance notices that accompany the law. The local finance notices are pretty clear, and I attached them to the opinion and highlighted them. I didn't make this up. This is coming almost word for word from the local finance notices.
But would it be lawful for Garwood to set forth and make another ordinance concerning this separately to override what is before without the worrying about ramifications from a lawsuit?
Those are two different questions. Would it be lawful? I believe that if you pass an ordinance that's contrary to what, for example, if you passed an ordinance and took one of the departments out of the state health benefits program, my understanding of the state health benefits program is you can't do that. You either cover everybody or you don't. So, you know, I don't. People think of unlawful like somebody's going to come in and arrest you all. Well, you know, that's not going to happen. Would it be something that wouldn't be challenged? And this is exactly why I phrased this way, because I can't tell you that it would be lawful, because you have what appears to be, not what appears to be, the law that was passed is very clear. And the local finance notice that interprets it is very clear, that elected officials who were elected prior to the operative date remain in the program. So I'm not sure that I can answer it any other way. As I said, I don't think it would be lawful based on what I read from the statute and the program, because of the fact that the law specifically exempts certain people. And I hope I answered your question. I'm not sure that I did.
I mean, other towns have done it, so obviously they were able to bypass it. I mean, I'm just trying to understand.
I don't know. I
whether-
mean, I haven't looked into 15 towns. I'll tell you a story if you want. About 7 or 8 years ago, councilman, forget about what councilman, a number of towns passed ordinances that had to do with regulating how many feet away from a school or a playground a convicted sex offender could live. And the council asked me, could we pass an ordinance like that? And I said, I don't believe it's lawful because of two things. One, I thought it was preempted, and the second thing is I thought it might infringe, as ridiculous as this may sound, on the civil rights of convicted sex offenders. So, nevertheless, the council wanted to pass the ordinance, and we passed the ordinance. And well, a year later, because there were 45 towns had passed them, and said, well, if 45 towns can pass them, then we can pass it. Well, the next year, the Supreme Court said you can't do that, and all the towns had to repeal the ordinances. And we were fortunate because had we been one of the towns that was sued, you'd be liable, you would have been liable, or the borough would have been liable for costs and attorney's fees and everything else. Fortunately, they sued somebody else, so we didn't get hit with it. So the fact that, I tell you this story only to say that the fact that other towns are doing something doesn't necessarily mean that they're right. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're wrong, and I'm not telling you that their lawyers know what they're doing or don't know what they're doing, and I do. I don't know. I didn't talk to 16 different people and find out from their attorney. I know some towns don't even consult their attorneys. There are towns that don't even have the attorney come to the meeting. So I don't know what the story is on them. I can't comment on what happened in 16 different towns. I don't know.
Can I just make one comment?
Final comment?
Yeah, sure. And just before you vote on it, I don't support the compromise you have. Lou, I just want to invite you, let's go ahead and let's get away from this legalistic thing about lawsuits and threatening lawsuits. Let's show Democrats and Republicans can come together. Let's go ahead, put a compromise together. The average Garwood employee pays 14% of the health insurance costs. Pay 14% of your health insurance costs. Then let's put the stipends back on the table.
That's also based off their salary, Jim.
Okay, but and what's your salary?
$1,500.
That's all you make in a year? Councilman?
As a stipend on council, it's $1,500.
That's not what I asked you.
Well, that's what
Then be honest.
I think we're getting out of
Be
hand.
honest.
Gentlemen, we're getting out of hand now. It's getting very personal.
Well, when there are lies made in front of the public, it will get personal. What I'm saying is, that's what you make in a year is $1,500, Councilman. Repeat it. Okay?
$100 from the dice.
So what it's not what I asked you. What I want to do, and obviously I'm getting my answer, let's go ahead and show people 6-0. And Mayor, we need your leadership on this. Please, don't just sit there quiet. Come out and try to go ahead and save people money. Give up your stipend, Mayor, and have Councilman Petrozelli pay what the average Garwood employee pays. Please. And let's go ahead, and I will be more than happy to sit here and support that, and you can all take credit for it. Let's stop talking about lawyers and lawsuits.
Let's go for a vote.
I'd also like to say that,
I think we said enough at this point.
well, I'm going to put together another motion, okay?
Well,
That
first,
includes
we
the-
have a motion on the floor right now, sir.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. All right.
We have a motion on the floor. We're going to have a roll call for this. What's the motion on the floor for? Let's go.
Would you like me to
Please.
restate it? Sure. The motion on the floor is to compromise so that in the future, whether this sitting council, with the exception of the one individual councilman who is covered under state law, could not get health benefits provided by the borough if we go with a private insurance carrier as opposed to the state health benefits plan, which we're in, or if the state were to change their opinion on this next year, or 5 years from now, or whenever in the future, to say that elected officials could get the benefits so that we can ensure that that practice is stopped going forward. That was my motion.
First and a second.
We have the motion and the second was done already, sir.
Okay, roll call, please.
Councilman Cooper.
No.
Councilman Martin.
Yes.
Councilman Matthew.
No.
Councilman Sarno.
No.
Councilman Fiasco.
Yes.
Councilman Petrozelli.
Abstain.
Councilman, you want to offer a motion?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to instruct our borough attorney to amend and/or clarify the following. Chapter 30, Section 1, paragraphs M and G, I'd like to redefine the definition of part-time employee so that it includes the following: all elected and appointed officials, and as such do not qualify for health benefits or other employment benefits except statutory required pension benefits. Furthermore, I'd add the following provision to the existing code: 30-14 group medical insurance. Employees working less than 30 hours per week and all elected and appointed borough officials shall not be eligible for benefits as provided in this section, specifically including but not limited to hospital, medical, dental, and major medical insurance benefits, and other benefits not afforded to employees other than full-time employees as set forth in this chapter, as made and provided from time to time. I'd like to read something along those lines.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have a discussion on that?
Okay.
I just want to voice my support for the motion. I just want to thank you for all the work you've done on this council. You're breaking new ground. This is something, again, I know everyone on this council, Mayor, I know you yourself have heard this issue brought up time and time again in ShopRite and in its council chambers. Now we're talking about the things that people talk to us about. Councilman Sarno, I don't know if you realize what it is you've done tonight and the benefit that you've given to the public. I do plan to support this motion with the caveat, and I've expressed this to Councilman Sarno privately, that I will pull my support for this if a reasonable compromise can be reached with Councilman Petrozelli. I want us to come together and vote 6-0 and come up with something that doesn't dance around the issue. Let's start to heal this borough from what happened on July 14th of 2015 with the firing of Fred Corbett. An election happened, you can't ignore it, okay? Let's start to go ahead and heal that, show that Republicans and Democrats, whatever wing of the party you come from, it's irrelevant, that you go ahead and we can save the borough money. Then you can go into your budget sections, look people in the eye and say, look what I did. I want you to do the same. You have my support on this, Joe.
Thank you.
I have a question for council. Is it legal to draw this motion up?
Yeah, is it a lawful motion? Sure.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Martin.
Yes.
Councilman Matthews.
Yes.
Councilman DeSarno.
Yes.
Councilman Disco.
On the basis of setting a precedent in ignoring our previous attorney's advice and state law, I'll be voting no.
Council President Petrozelli.
Abstain.
Count the vote.
You're going to give me the language, I hope, because I don't write as fast.
Yes.
Joe, you can email that.
Okay. Anything else, Councilman, on liquor license? Councilman Martin?
No, nothing.
Thank you. We'll move on to recreation. Councilman Martin.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Garwood Senior Citizen Liaison, Councilwoman Kukrow.
Thank you, Mayor. The senior citizen meeting was a great one this week. Todd Hurst stopped by to introduce our new police officer, Jonathan Pretty. Everyone wished him luck in his new position. There was still a lot of talk and concern about the emergency response when calling first aid. Todd Hurst said Chief Underhill was going to be addressing this issue to alleviate concerns, as well as Audrey Cornisak made arrangements for a speaker to address the group within the next few weeks. Carol Lombardo was in attendance and was asking everyone to look through all of their old photos to see if there's any forgotten mementos or memorabilia that could be given to the historical committee. They could be scanned and returned very quickly. A few people had questions about the permit parking and what could be done to get permit stickers expedited. I went through the procedure as well as the streets that it affects. Went back to Borough Hall. I had copies of the streets and the application made. I will bring that with me at the next meeting, and Tina suggested that one of the admin from Borough Hall will kindly come over and check registrations, so anyone that needs them will be taken care of at that time if they have not been done previously. I think it will make it easier for the seniors over there. It was very nice, you know, for Tina to come up with that. After a short discussion, the new committee name will be Garwood Senior Citizen Liaison, as there is really no committee anymore, just me right now, so I don't think it has to be a committee tacked on to there. Update on crafts and ceramics. Paulette is still away. We're waiting for her updates as soon as she returns. And Mayor Lombardo kindly stopped by for a quick visit to say hello to everybody and check in.
Thank you.
That's all for my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Give the report of the senior citizen liaison. Any comments? Hearing none, libraries, Mayor Representative, Council President Petrozelli.
Thank you, Mayor. In February, the library is holding a reading raffle. Anyone who checks out a book can enter to win a gift basket. Adult and kids baskets include a Dunkin' Donuts gift card, GameStop gift card, books, chocolates, and other goodies. The winner will be drawn February 29th. Yesterday, February 8th, Valentine's were for the birds. Kids made Valentine bird feeders out of recycled seltzer bottles at the Kids Craft. Today, February 9th, the green flag waved at the first Garwood Lego Derby. Photo finishes will be posted on the library's Facebook page. Tonight, the adult craft will reflect well on the participants. They will be making decorative mirrors out of clothespins. All other programs are keeping busy at the library. They include Knitting Club on February 1st, 4th, 8th, 11th, 18th, 22nd, 25th, and 29th at 10:30 a.m. Color Me Calm on February 1st, 8th, 22nd, 29th at 11:30 a.m. Book clubs on February 1st, 4th, 22nd at 7 p.m. and 1 p.m. Adult Ed on February 2nd, 4th, 9th, 11th, 16th, 18th, 23rd, and 25th at noon. ESL on February 9th, 2nd, 16th, 23rd at 2 p.m. Parent-Child Knitting, February 3rd, 10th, 17th, 24th at 6 p.m. Toddler Story Time, February 9th, 10th, 17th, and 24th at 10:30 a.m. Friday Movie Time on February 5th, 12th, 19th, to 26th at 10 a.m. Puzzle Friday on February 5th, 12th, 19th, and the 26th at 3 p.m. The card library is open, weather permitting, Monday through Thursday from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Fridays from 9 a.m. to 4:30, and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The library will be closed Monday, February 15th, 2016, in honor of President's Day. That's all for my report, Matt.
Thank you, Council President. Any comments on the mayor's library report? Hearing none, school board liaison, Councilman Sarno.
Thank you, Mayor. No report this evening. The next meeting is Tuesday, February 16th at 7:30.
Thank you. Celebration of public events and holiday liaison, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor. Meeting
you.
next week.
Union County Air Traffic Noise Advisory Board Representative, Councilman Matthew.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Administrative Review Committee, Councilman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor.
Historical Committee, Councilwoman Tedesco.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the meeting of the Historical Committee last week on February 2nd. The committee is continuing to plan the rededication of the recreation complex, and the planned date has been set for Sunday, June 12th, with a rain date of the following week on June 19th. They are working on cleaning existing plaques that are in need of cleaning and having a new plaque made in honor of Mayor Michael Concoli, who the main building of the complex will be dedicated to, as it was his original vision for a new facility at that location almost 20 years ago. The baseball field will be rededicated to James B. Guerrero, and the field house or announcer's booth building will be rededicated as the Joseph E. Hominick Field House. Additionally, discussion took place on ideas for future fundraisers and programs to ensure Garwood's rich history is preserved. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments on the report? Hearing none, we'll move on. Officers report, Ms. Ariano. That's it.
Lindy Stefano, zoning code enforcement officer, monthly report for January 2016. Municipal Court Administrator Martha Marino, Garwood Municipal Court operations January to December 2015.
I have a motion to accept the reports.
So moved, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council? Please step to the microphone, state your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening. Jennifer Blumenstock, 315 Spruce. I'm sure.
I feel you.
I'd like to address my comments directly to Councilman Sarno about the issue of Councilman Petrozelli's health benefits. The thing here is not whether or not you agree that Councilman Petrozelli should get his benefits or not. It's the law. You don't have to like it, but you need to uphold it. If you want to change that, the change shouldn't, and as Councilman said, it's unlawful to change it at this level. If you'd like to change it, you need to go to the state level, you need to go through the proper channels, and you need to do it there. To do it here, to continue this, it's just more partisan politics. It's really what it comes off like. It comes off like grandstand. It comes off as bitterness. It comes off as infighting. And I know, you have to know that the public's had enough of that. You really have. And so I'm asking you, you who ran recently, you touted yourself as the voice of the people. You said you would listen to the voice of the people, listen to the majority, and then act accordingly. But what you seem to be forgetting is that the voice of the people was already heard on this matter. This has come up time and time again, but it came up in the last election for Councilman Petrozelli. And the majority of the people voted him in irregardless. If you're so early in your tenure, you're going to go back on your campaign promise to listen to the people, that's embarrassing. It is, to go back on your promise that you are the voice of the people, that you will listen to them and act accordingly. What you're doing here tonight, it's completely contradictory to that. So I'm asking you to think about that, reflect on these words, and perhaps reverse your course.
Thank you.
Mayor, can I just make a comment?
It's the people. This is public comment.
Well, we always make comments. Are we changing procedure tonight?
The people's time.
All right, and Ms. Blumenstock, thank you very much for your, I really hear what you say. You made an excellent point. And this was the thing, if you remember, right after Councilman Petrozelli's re-election, Bruce Patterson was up there threatening to recall him. And I said the time to recall Councilman Petrozelli was in November. He won the election, okay? So I really, and I wasn't defending the councilman, what I was defending was the electoral process here in Garwood. And I was on board with you. The thing that's changed that, for me and for the constituents, was the firing of Fred Corbett and the circulation of a memo by Mayor Lombardo detailing how much his benefits cost. There are a lot of people who are kind of lukewarm, actually mildly supportive of Lou on this, who are now contacting me and like, that's it. You're gonna fire a guy because of how much his benefits cost? Fred's wife came up to me and said, Jim, I would have put him on my benefits if I had known this was a problem. Do you know how I felt when I heard that? It's horrible. For people in this community, people in Garwood are fair. People from Garwood don't take any garbage either. They are very upset about his vote on this, and that's the game changer for me. But that, to address directly, I was right with you up until July 14th of this past year.
Thank you.
As long as we're making public comments, I'll make one as well.
Can we get back to the public, though? It's our
No,
time.
I just need to
Make it a short one,
we're on
please,
this
Councilman.
envelope.
Please.
I was going to say this to the end, but I just wanted to remark that just because I voted yes to the resolution that we were just talking about, does not mean I'll vote yes to it and when we bring it up for a vote. What I was going to, at the end of the meeting, do is ask you, Council, to take another look at this and make absolutely sure that this is against the law. Because if it is against the law, we are a law, a nation of laws. I will vote no. I just wanted to clarify my vote.
Yeah, I don't expect to change the opinion that I gave.
Okay. Well, let's
Okay.
just make sure it's you know, make sure
I
it's
mean,
correct.
it is what it is, and it states what the opinion is.
Okay, we'll get back to the public now. Anyone from the public, please rise, come to the microphone.
Hi, good afternoon. Paul Nieves, 260 Fourth Avenue. I will keep it brief. First thing I want to say is I want to commend Mr. Patterson for doing his due diligence and doing a chart and presenting it to the council. Not many citizens will go out of their way and put the time and effort into what he did. And I want to commend him publicly. And I also was hoping that whatever he presented would be presented also to the Rahway Commission for comments. I mean, I haven't seen his information, but I think we're all entitled to a response to what Mr. Patterson did. I agree with Councilman Sarno. There should be greater collaboration between all council members and committee members. If not, to just get buy-in, but to cover your backside too. If somebody, does something to say, hey, you guys were in that decision. The decision about Mr. Councilman Petrozelli's benefits, with all due respect, Councilman Matthew, it is grandstanding. And for you to say, let's not talk about this in these legalistic, minute details, his grandstanding, you know it because you're a lawyer and I'm a lawyer and he's a lawyer and we live in the nation of laws. So for you to actually propose for the council to do something illegal, I think is hypocritical and counterintuitive to me. And just bootstrapping on that, I don't know how a resolution could be passed to amend a statute knowing that arguably that amendment is going to be illegal. I don't think that resolution should ever be passed. I also think that what Councilman Sarno is saying in terms of the 15 towns and they're establishing a precedent, I mean, the real issue is, are those 15 towns relevant to our analysis? No one's asking that question. And I don't know if what Councilman Sarno is saying is true or misinformed, but if it is, then maybe the answer is within those 15 towns. No one's threatening lawsuits, Councilman Matthew. No one's threatening. You're putting words in his mouth. He never said, he said, just like a citizen of our nation, that he would keep the option open, right? So you're a lawyer, I'm a lawyer. You wouldn't say, under no circumstances would you sue. So that's silly and that's counterintuitive. There was one more thing that I want to talk about here. And what the young lady said was absolutely true. This health care benefit issue with Councilman Petroselli has been decided. People have spoken. I mean, you Councilman Matthew, you made arguments about Fred Corbin being fired. I mean, Corbett being fired. And what I would suggest to you, sir, is that the loyalties that you have are to the taxpayers, not to Mr. Corbett. Okay? And if in fact we saved money, then I think that was the right decision. And in fact, there could be something legally done to save more money. Maybe that we should do that as well. But the people that you mentioned that are so outraged by Mr. Petroselli, Councilman Petroselli's receiving legal benefits after being elected, after knowing that the issue existed within our town, they're not here. They're not speaking. And maybe they should. Because if what you're saying is true, I think we're all entitled to hear from them. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Step forward, please.
Bill, good evening, everyone. Bill Nearset at 320 Hickory Avenue. First, I have two comments, one short, one long. I apologize. I commend Councilman Sarno for his comment regarding resolution number 16158, where he specifically stated that the police officer is entitled to the benefits, the police officer is entitled to the money that is in that. I know Councilman Matthew in the past has voted against that, so I was very glad to hear you say that. And I would also ask something else on top of that. As you know, as we all know, being sitting up there, the police payments after they leave can really add up to be quite a bit. I guess Police Commissioner, does the chief give you a listing? Does he provide you with like an annual standing as to where the police officers are in terms of unused sick, unused health, vacation? Because in the past, I know we had a $90,000 payout, but it wasn't for comp time. $8,000 in comp time is a lot. Does he give you any kind of standing at the end of the year?
I haven't been here for the end of the
Right,
year.
I know that.
But
I know that. I mean,
the
did
chief,
you want to get passed on?
Yeah, I'm confident the chief that if I wanted that data, he would give it to me.
All right, because I would recommend to council that, you know, and particularly the police commissioner, that you ask him to provide that, so you know, because that can be a bit of a cost going down the road.
Of course, that's in the budget. It's a budget item.
Not if a police officer leaves unexpectedly, and I believe I have the floor, council. If anybody wonders why I have this with me, I've carried this with me since August when I wrote it. I've updated it since then, okay, but if you wonder why I'm prepared tonight, it's because I've had it for 5 months. Thank you, Mayor. Bruce Patterson has raised the issue of borough residents paying for Lou Petroselli's family health care for years. As the law requires the borough to pay these premiums, past council members chose to date not to respond to him. I, however, wish to respond to his comments at this time, and I recognize that tonight they're brought up by Councilman Sarno. These are my reasons for supporting the borough payment for Lou's family's health care insurance. They're nobody else's. I apologize to Lou because I'm going to get a little personal here. He would rather I not say this. You do not have to believe what I say. You certainly don't have to agree. You'll probably think they're political and self-serving, but they are not. They come from my heart, my basic upbringing and beliefs. I would support these benefits for any council person who is entitled as Lou is entitled. First, Lou is entitled to the premiums. Past council members took the benefit and was available, Democrat and Republican. They only don't take it now because they are no longer on council or because the law no longer allows them to take it. Lou is the last eligible council member for these benefits. It's not our decision to take them away from him if we wanted to. Second, I went to Roman Catholic Mass every Sunday for the first 50 years of my life. I listened to people pray the Holy Word on Sunday and then offend and slur their fellow man during the week. I listened to jokes about every nationality, lifestyle, and race that exists. I stopped going to Mass for many personal or organized religious reasons. Through it all, however, I continued to believe the basics that I was taught in 8 years of Catholic grammar school, 4 years of Catholic high school, and my 40 years as an Eagle Scout. Do a good deed daily, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Treat your neighbors yourself, help other people at all times. There, but for the grace of God, go I. I said to myself when Lou's issue first arose, now here is an opportunity to do the right thing, to do a good deed, to do unto somebody else as I would hope he would do unto me if our roles were reversed. We say that Garwood is a small town with a big heart. I have viewed Lou's family situation as an opportunity to show that Garwood residents do have a big heart, and we're not hypocrites. Are you aware of the name of the affliction from which Lou and Jackie's son suffers? Have you ever looked it up? Do you know its side effects? Do you know the amount of care that a child with this syndrome requires? Are you aware of the life expectancy? Are you aware of the hours that the Petrozelli family puts in to take care of Lou Jr.? Have you ever offered to help them? Are you aware that every time I talk about reducing our garbage pickup to once a week, I'm reminded that Lou and Jackie have an 18-year-old son in diapers? Yes, I'm aware that we residents pay $30,000 a year to take care of Lou Jr. It comes to about $16 per taxpayer. My family is willing to give the Petrozelli family $16 a year for Lou Jr.'s health. I was grateful, and I mean this sincerely, when the Republican Party